Hi, my name is Mickey Hudson, and I'm here to talk about the Pfaff Performance Icon. This is an amazing, amazing machine. It is very spacious as far as if you are a quilter or a crafter or anything where you need room to move. It has almost a little over 12 inches space across the bed of the Performance Icon, and it has 5 inches height. So you can roll a king size double flannel quilt in here. This thing will hold everything. The other thing that is so amazing is it has 3 inches of space here. So getting your hands in and out is a breeze. Nothing is going to be catching on the top. It is amazing. The lighting system on this is top-notch. They have created focal points for your hotspot task points where you need the most light. You're going to get the most light. And the way they've spread it out is it doesn't even create shadows. So when you're working in here, you don't get shadows on your project. And it's a true color bulb. So if you're going to match colors, it's fantastic for that. It's a very, 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 just this alone is amazing. We also have an extra wide needle plate. And this does come with the straight stitch and the zigzag needle plate. And what's really nice is it knows which plate it has in. So if you have the straight stitch needle plate in, it automatically knows. It's not going to let you break any needles. So it'll keep you protected. And the Performance Icon has a telescopic thread stand, which is phenomenal. This is the kind of stuff that you see in the industrial world because it prevents tangling. You can use any kind of thread that you can possibly imagine, including metallics, and that there's a flat thread that's like tinsel, and it loves to twist and break and do all that stuff. It's not going to do any of this here because of that telescopic thread stand. So we have 2 spools. If you want to use 2 spools, I'm going to use 1. But also the telescopic thread stand will allow us to use any kind of spool as well as any kind of thread. And it is very easy to thread. And now when it comes to the automatic needle threader, there is a little hook right in there. We're just going to come right up onto that hook. And there's a little slot right in there. We're going to come right into that little slot. And then there's a cutter right on the side of the Performance Icon. And there's a cutter right on the side of the Performance Icon. And now everything is set up at the right length, the right position, everything. And we'll just touch our little needle threader function button, and that will thread our needle for us. Isn't that easy? It just makes me so happy. All right, so let's talk about some other functions of this Performance Icon. It does come with a knee lift, so if you do want to use your knee to lift and lower the presser foot, you can do so. It does come with a free arm, so if we like to do collars, cuffs, bags, crafts, etc., we have that free arm capability. It does have accessory in the back and accessory space in the front. And let me show you how beautiful this accessory case is. So everything is going to be nice and organized. There's a place for all of your feet. There's a place for all of your bobbins. It is so beautiful. So let's come on over to the Performance Icon itself. We have 2 function buttons right in front. One is our start-stop function, which means we can sew just by a push of a button. We do not have to use our foot pedal. But because Pfaff allows us to keep the foot pedal plugged in while we're sewing, our foot pedal now becomes our brake. So if I'm using my start-stop for anything, for decorative stitching, for free motion, for anything like that, at any time I want to stop, all I have to do is touch my foot pedal and the performance icon will stop. So this is my reverse button. So the reverse button, if you touch it while it's in stop mode, while you're stopped, this little light will light up and now it's going to sew backwards. So there are some times where some of us may want to just sew fully in reverse, and that is what this does. If you touch the reverse button while it's in motion, it acts like a regular reverse button. So Pfaff has given us the option of having both, which is great. This is our sensor foot lifter. So when we automatically start sewing, when we touch that foot pedal, this presser foot is going to automatically step down and start sewing. So there's no lifter inside, it's just all automatic, which will spoil you in about 10 seconds. These are the manual. If I want to lift the presser foot manually, I can lower the foot, I can raise the foot, and if I touch the foot up again, it will automatically drop those feed dogs and lift this into that extra lift position, which is great for trying to get your bigger quilts or your bigger projects or fleece or wools or whatever you're trying to do. So it's really convenient. We already talked about the automatic needle threader, which is fantastic. This is your cutter or your thread snips. When you touch this, it's going to cut the bottom, the bobbin and the top thread, so very cleanly, and pull it to the back. So it's very clean and it's awesome. This is the tie-off function. So if you wanted to end a stitch or a decorative stitch and have it tie off at the end, that is what this function will do for you. And this is your stitch restart. So if you're sewing along and you catch yourself and you've made a mistake, you can just touch this and this will start the stitch over again. Or if you've come to the end of a row and you stop in the middle of a stitch, you can just come up, touch the stitch restart and start the next row all brand new. And then this is our needle up, needle down function button. So when I touch this, it's going to drop the needle. But I don't know if you can see, but it lifts the foot up into the pivot mode. So it is great if I want to turn my fabric, or if I'm doing applique, or if I just want to make adjustments. It is great. The pivot mode is a fantastic feature. All right, now let's come over to this beautiful capacitive touch screen. This is a 10-inch tablet-like screen. So if you are familiar with any kind of smartphone or any kind of tablet, you are familiar with these screens. They react just like your phones and your tablets. So it's touch, it's swipe, it's zoom in, zoom out, exactly like your tablets. So we have sewing, we have load from MySewNet, and we have open the help center. So all of these things are options that we have. If I already know what I'm doing, I'm ready to start sewing, I can go right there. If I am new to the performance icon, the help center is going to be extremely helpful for you, because the performance icon will tell you everything it can do. It's going to show you and walk you right through. So let me show you an example. I'm going to go to the help center and I can say, I'm just getting started. So this is my getting started menu, and go, okay, I saw the video that Mickey did, but I need a little more help with that needle threader. So if I touch the automatic needle threader, it's going to give me instructions, including video. So everything that the performance icon can do, it will show you and walk you through it. So it's in text format, and video. So some of us like to read and some of us like to watch. I'm a video girl myself, so I love the videos. Okay. And then if I go back to the Help Center, I can do techniques and tutorials. So now we're talking about what kind of sewing is available, what kind of embroidery can it do, and how do I set that up. So for instance, if I wanted to put in a zipper, and I haven't put in a zipper in a million years, I can come over here and say, let's see how to put in a zipper. Again, I get written instructions as well as videos. So just general sewing, general quilting, etc. There's lots of helps right at your fingertips. And then there are some specialty techniques that, if we go to sewing techniques, there is some exclusive stitch techniques that are exclusive to the Pfaff Performance Icon, and that includes ribbon stitches, floating stitches, radiant stitches, and lace stitches, and stacking stitches. But these are going to be new to some of you. So again, there is help. I'm going to say I want to do a ribbon stitch, a single ribbon stitch. Once again, there's my instruction. But what is also great is there's also content. So if I tell it I want to do that, it shows me these are my single ribbon stitches that I have to choose from. So I don't have to even go hunting for them. It'll bring everything right to me. It is fantastic. But again, once again, there's video and step by step how to do everything. And for instance, when it comes to the single ribbon stitch, I can do this without the video. But if I do the triple ribbon stitch, I'm very happy to have that video, because every time I always have to go, what ribbon goes first? And that video is so, so helpful. And when you're done, when you close this window, like you've seen me do a couple of times, it actually will park itself right here. So anytime if you're doing your project and you go, oh, I forget this little step, all I have to do is touch this and it'll bring up my last command, the last information I asked for. So it'll be replaced every time you go, but it'll always be the last one you've asked for. So it is very, very convenient that it is right there for you. Okay? But there's sewing, there's garment techniques, there's sewing techniques, there's quilting techniques. So there's all kinds of piecing and applique and binding and all this kind of stuff. So if you are a sewer who's new to quilting, or if you're a quilter who's new to sewing, or you dabble a little bit back and forth, everything is going to be here for you. And it is absolutely wonderful. And we also have projects that are built in, and these will also help you get familiar with your performance icon as well. And then there's also a stabilizer guide. So when you're doing decorative stitching and stuff like that, having a stabilizer reference guide is extremely helpful, and it's all just built in right here. Okay? And then the user's guide is also built in. And this is extremely helpful in many ways. So when this machine will be, we'll talk about it in a minute, but this machine is updatable. And so when you get updates and it updates any features or anything like that, it's going to update the owner's manual to reference that. So it is very, very convenient to have it built in. And up here at the top, I can search. There's a little magnifying glass. So if I wanted to search for something specifically, I can type in what I'm looking for and search. And it'll bring me to all of the, I typed in bobbin, and it brings me to all of the bobbin options to choose from. So I can look for bobbin winding or inserting or etc. I can also go through A to Z. So if I'm not sure how to spell something, I can just look up the letter and find it that way. Or I can view it through the chapters. And so I can just go chapter by chapter by chapter. So that is all extremely helpful. Okay, let me go back here and close that. So here we have the MySewNet blog, and the blog is a wealth of information. There's tips and tricks, there's projects, there's helpful hints, there's what's new. All kinds of stuff is built right in to it, and these are exclusive to the MySewNet Wi-Fi enabled devices. So this is stuff that you will not find elsewhere on the website or anything like that. So if I touch this little, right here, I don't know if you can see it, but it says Witch Hat Stitch. So if I come in to touch this, and I'll OK it, this is now going to save it as a stitch file. So it's now mine. So there's all kinds of projects where they include whatever project they're doing or whatever stitch that they have created, they will give it to you as well. So this is the home screen. So we got Start Sewing, Load from MySewNet, Open Help Center, and the MySewNet blog. The MySewNet blog you will only see when you are signed in. Okay? So let's go ahead and go to Start Sewing. First of all, let me talk, because I talked about being signed in, let me kind of go over that just a bit. Because you'll go to the website MySewNet.com and you will create an account. When you create an account, it is free, and all they're asking for is a name and an email and a password. So you can just put in your name, email, and create your password. They're not asking for anything else, and it is completely free. And once you've signed in there, you will come here and you will just sign in here with that same email and that same password. And that will link up the website with the performance icon. So now they will talk to each other. If you've missed it here, you can go into your settings and sign in there, and I will show you that as well. But we're going to go ahead and touch Start Sewing because we're ready to get sewing. So here is where you can come. This is our settings menu. So if we come down here, it looks like a little gear. And if we touch our settings menu, there is the option here for Wi-Fi settings. So we can sign in here to your Wi-Fi at home. And then there you can sign in here to your MySewNet account. So it is really easy to do, and we will get back to the settings in a minute. But because we were talking about that, I wanted to show you where to do it. So this is great information here. So here is where your help center will be if you need it at any time. This is the information that you need that is very helpful if you're doing a stitch, because whatever stitch I've asked it to do, it's here going to recommend a foot. It's going to let me know if I can use the integrated dual feed, which I'll talk about. There's even more information if you need more information on it. It's letting me know this is the stitch number, and this is my speed is set at 100%, and this is going to activate the active stitch technology. So we're going to talk about what that is as well. There's just so much to talk about. It's so exciting. And even though I'm going to be talking about a lot of this stuff is so automatic that you won't even think about it. It's just nice to know what it is and what it's doing for you. But it's not something that you really have to work at. Okay? But this is what this helpful window is, my little information screen right here. So I can minimize everything if I want to move this stuff out of the way, for instance. However, I do like to keep my recommendations open. Even as long as I've been sewing, I like having my little reference right there. Over here, we have the question mark, which means if I have a question about anything, I can ask it and it'll tell me briefly what it is. But what it'll also do, there's a little blue highlight here. So if I were to touch that little blue highlight, going, well, it's great that this is Stitch Edit, but what does Stitch Edit do for me? Well, you can read more about it, and it's going to take you right to that point in the user's guide. So I don't have to flip through my owner's manual. It's going to bring me right there and tell me exactly what it is. So it is extremely helpful having it all right here. Okay? And then this is my load stitch menu. This is my main menu. So I have my stitch menu, and then I have my file manager. This is where my witch hat came. So the stitch that I saved earlier, this is, it's mine now. So I pulled it off the blog, and now it's mine. Okay? But that's what File Manager does. So any of my saved stitches, anything that I've pulled over from the MySewNet website, all of that will be found here. So if we come back to the main menu, and I select a stitch, and if what's so great about this is if I select a stitch, it tells me here what it is and what it's for. So if I'm unsure of how to officially use a stitch, it gives you a brief description of what it is. The reason I say officially is any of us who've been sewing for a while, we know that we use many of these stitches unofficially. We use them how we want to get effects that we want. But when we're new, it is nice and it's helpful to have an idea of what its original purpose was for. And then I can load the stitch from here just by touching load, and it will automatically load it, set my tensions. Everything is all set, and it's recommending a foot and letting me know whether or not I can use integrated dual feed. So it's very convenient. After you get more comfortable with the performance icon and you kind of know what stitches you like, you can just come right over here to the quick load stitch. So this will also load your stitches. It just doesn't give you the description. So once you know what you're looking for, this is going to be very convenient. But this is something that is really amazing because this little window is kind of small. But I can just touch this corner and drag this and make this as large as I need it to be. So again, very, very convenient. So I can scroll through to any of the stitches that I want, and if I just touch it, touch and hold, it will go ahead and load. I'm going to go ahead and grab this guy. And if anything I touch to open, I'll touch it again to close it. So in this, what's beautiful about having this big 10-inch capacitive touch screen, this is going to show me the stitch real size. So this is what I'm actually going to see. I also have the taper ability, which is here, and I have all these different tapering options to choose from. So if I wanted to turn a corner and I wanted to do a 45 at the beginning, do you see how it automatically takes that 45? Or I could say I don't want that 45, I want this 45. So I want the scallops to come to the inside, and I can just rotate around and create a nice little scallop window or border or anything else that I want to do. Okay. If I say multi, it's going to set them at the top and the bottom. Oops, wrong guy. So it'll set them at the top and the bottom. And you'll see here that this little the reverse image came up. So let me just do it on the beginning again, and you will see Oh, let me turn the multi off, hold on. So if I just turn it on at the beginning, you will see there is no reverse button there. But when I work with multi, it needs to know how to turn around or how to create this pivot at the end. And that's where this reverse comes in. So when it starts sewing, it's going to create that point. And when I come down and I'm ready to hit this point, I will just touch my reverse button and it will taper on down. And then it will stop. And then I can turn my fabric and it'll continue on. It is very, very nice. Okay, so I want to turn that off actually. Okay, let's come down here to Stitch Edit. Stitch Edit is where we can change the length, the width, the needle position, etc. But what we can also change here is the density. Now the density is how tight or loose a stitch is. And so if you think of a zigzag stitch, just your regular old zigzag stitch, if I make it a smaller number, it's going to make the zigzag tighter. And if I make it a bigger number, it's going to make the zigzags more spacious. Density is exactly that. So if I turn it up, I'm going to make it extreme, so you can see that it's creating space in there. Or I can turn it down and tighten up a stitch. But what you'll see is that it's not changing the size of the stitch itself, it's just changing the spacing. So that is fantastic. And this is a decorative stitch. So over here where our attention should be is that active stitch technology that I mentioned earlier. What the active stitch technology is, and it's something that you don't really even have to think about, it just happens automatically. You set a stitch. If the active stitch technology is the best, going to give you the best quality, it sets it up. And if tension's going to give you the best quality, it sets it up. You do have the ability to override it. As always, we are the controllers of our sewing world, but it does default to the best option. And what it does, so when you do have a tension and you set your tension at 4, let's say, and you drop your presser foot, the tension goes tight and it just holds that steady at a 4. Well, when we're doing decorative stitches and the needles are moving around and everything's going, this may not be the best choice. So they have come up with, Pfaff has come up with active stitch technology. And what it does is there's no tension, there's a set of rollers. And it's a thread dispersing system. And the rollers will feed thread through and give you more thread when it's needed and less thread when it's needed. So you get very consistent, beautiful decorative stitches with this active stitch technology. And it is recognizable by the 3 little circles that coordinate with the 3 little rollers that are inside next to the tension. So it just automatically will switch for you. You don't have to do anything. It's just amazing. So down here we have some, well, let's start here. So up here we have flip vertically, flip side to side, flip top to bottom. You're not going to see that because it's the same. But you can flip very easily on the screen and you get to see immediately what it's going to look like, which I love. And we can also edit this in Stitch Editor. Because we have Stitch Editor, we can change any of the stitches, well, not any of them, almost all of the stitches that are built in. There are a few that they don't allow you to, or they just don't allow it because it's just not possible for that particular stitch. So instead of trying to unscramble your brains, they just say no. It makes it easier. But all of the stitches that are available that are able to be changed are available in Stitch Creator. So you can create a stitch from scratch, starting with just a single stitch, or you can edit any stitches that are already here. And what I mean is all of these little points here are stitch points. So that is where the needles are going to move. So what I did was it had everything selected, which is why everything was green. And I'm just going to come and I'm going to grab a point here and I'm going to just move that in. And I have changed the stitch. Now, I'm not making a masterpiece because I'm just demoing this. When I'm home, I am a little more careful. But you can actually see here too what it's starting to look like on the stitch out. See how it's starting to change? I can tell it okay. And I've created a new stitch. So it is it's really awesome, because I will see something in a store and I will wish I had that stitch. Well, I just take a picture of it and create it. I will sometimes have an image in my head going, ooh, I'm using this kind of free motion design. I wish I had a little stitch that went with it. I can create my own. The number one way I use the Stitch Creator, however, is when I have the Stitch Creator, I can come down here and I can edit in Stitch Creator. And one of the options that they have down here in Edit is a triple stitch. It's identified with a little 3x. So I can take my triple stitch and turn it into, or my single stitch and turn it into a triple stitch. And then what's cool is if I come in here and select this stitch again, so do you see now I have one that's triple and one that's single, one that's triple, and I can create, just very simply, I can create a whole new feel to the stitch, even if I haven't changed the stitch itself. It's really exciting to have this versatility available. So that is Stitch Editor, and we also now have Stitch Repeat. Now what is cool here is, I will need fabric for this part. So I have a single stitch program, which if I select this, it will just do a single repeat. But over here I can tell it how many repeats I want. So I can say I want 3 repeats or I want 4 repeats. So the single stitch patchwork is great for, I just want to do a couple of repeats of a single stitch. Now the patchwork program is really cool, especially if you are a quilter and you're doing a lot of repeats of a particular stitch. So let me show you what I'm talking about, because I'm going to do this little patchwork here. I'm going to do it for the wrong sides, with wrong sides together, so I think you can see this a little better. Yeah, you can see that a little better. So I'm going to just sew this at 1/4 inch. So what it just did was, because I'm on a straight stitch and it's recommending the integrated dual feed, as soon as I tried to start sewing, it was like, hey, just a little reminder, I recommend the integrated dual feed. And you don't have to use it, but it is a kind of nice to have a reminder. The integrated dual feed is basically a built-in walking foot. Except it's better, because on the Performance Icon we have feed dogs underneath, or feed teeth underneath, but what this does is when this is engaged, these are feed teeth on top as well. There's an actual motor in there and it's working just exactly the same as the feed teeth underneath. So you're going to get absolute precision and perfection. It is mwah, it is awesome. So we're going to go ahead and sew this at 1/4 inch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, first I want to tell it I'm doing patchwork programming. And if you see, there's my little reverse icon. So what'll happen is when I sew along and I get to the end, I will go ahead and touch the reverse. And you see what happened to my stitch? So now, when I throw my next piece in, you put my right sides together, it's going to stitch that along, and then it's just going to stop. So I'm going to put that in there, and I'm going to touch start, stop. And then I can put my next piece in, and my next piece in, and my next piece in. It is awesome if you are a quilter. I cannot tell you how great that is. So for patchworking, it's just amazing. But it just makes your stitches the exact size that you need. Amazing. Ooh, ah, wow. All right. We got free motion quilting. So when we select free motion quilting, we can choose what kind of foot we're going to use. There is a ruler foot that is available for Pfaff, and it requires no adjustment. So you just put the ruler foot on and it's ready to go. If you were using another ruler foot, you're not going to do this. You're going to do the adjusting. We have the Sensormatic free motion foot. We have the spring free motion foot. And we have the 6D free motion foot, which comes with the Pfaff Performance Icon. But the Sensormatic free motion foot just floats. So we've got a spring one that'll bounce, and then we have one that'll just hover. So for those of you that do thread play or thread painting or anything like that, you guys are probably more familiar with that. But I use it, so it depends on, I will use the Sensormatic where it floats on some kind of piles, and then I like the bouncy, the spring-loaded for other kind of piles. And so you'll get to where you'll know which one you like. It comes with, the Pfaff Performance Icon comes with both. It does not come with the ruler foot. But it does come with the Sensormatic, and it does come with the 6D spring-loaded. So you're all set for no matter which kind you want to try. We also do have the tie-off options. So we talked about the tie-off at the end, but we can also tie off at the beginning. We can also tell it to tie off at the end, and we can also say we want to cut the thread when we're finished, because when I tell you I'm finished, I'm finished. So you can tie it off and go ahead and cut the thread. Okay. So isn't that amazing? Okay. We have Sequence Creator, which will allow us to create sequences. So if I wanted to type in a name, for instance, I can type in my name. I can program in a stop. These are our commands here. I can tie off, I can stop, and I can cut. So I can do one or all three or any combination thereof. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just say stop, and you see how it gives me a little stop. So it's going to stitch and then stop, and then I can do whatever I want to. We also have directional sewing here. So I can say, I want to sew the name Pfaff, and then I'm going to do a couple of stitches down, and I want to do a decorative stitch. So I'm going to come over here and just do a decorative stitch, and I'm going to I can also move things out of the way. So I can come and do a decorative stitch, and then I can program into a different way and choose a different decorative stitch. We're going to just go ahead and do the same stitch. So I can design new stitches from other stitches, and when I tell it OK, you can see this is how it's going to stitch. So the versatility of the Pfaff Performance Icon is amazing. And what's wonderful is there's plenty of room to grow. It's one of those things, if you are a new sewer, there's plenty of room to grow into it. And if you are a more experienced sewer, these are some features that you will not be able to live without once you get your hands on them, because they are absolutely amazing. So these are kind of the top features, what I find the most exciting. But there's still one more thing. We talked about the MySewNet capability and the help menu built in on the Pfaff Performance Icon. But because it's Wi-Fi enabled, there's an app for that. So there is an app that is available, and if you are an iPhone user, you will go to the App Store, and if you're not an iPhone user, you go to Google Play, and you will get this app called Creator Q. And once you do that, and again, you will sign in with the same email and password, but all of that helpful information is here. So there's the sewing instructions. There are the exclusive stitches that we talked about earlier. So if you're busy sewing here, you can still use your tablet or your phone and get the instructions right here in front of you. There are also 2 USB ports on the side of the Pfaff Performance Icon, so you can load stitches that way, but you can also charge your phone or your tablet. So it's very, very convenient. And this also includes the videos, because I'm a video girl. So the Pfaff Performance Icon, there's a couple other things I wanted to show you. Is the Pfaff Performance Icon has almost double the piercing power of any other domestic machine on the market. And what that means is you can sew through just about anything. This is 32 layers of quilting cotton, and as you can see, it's about a ½ inch thick. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't normally sew 32 layers of quilting cotton. But I do sew a lot of bags. I do a lot of upcycling with denims and leathers and etc. And anything I throw at this machine, it will stitch beautifully. So this is 32 layers of quilting cotton. This is 12 layers of denim. And it just sews so beautifully. But look at that, it's like a ½ inch of denim. And then this is 6 layers of heavy leather. It's not like the cowhide leather you find on saddles, but it's heavy decorative leather. And it's 6 layers of leather. Isn't that beautiful? It just stitches beautifully. So I wanted to be able to show you that. This also has a larger bobbin. So the Pfaff Performance Icon also has a larger bobbin, and it holds 30% more bobbin thread. And to show you what 30% looks like, this is stitched out with a regular bobbin. And as you can see, this is as far as I can get with the stitches. This is with the Pfaff Performance Icon. It is a lot more stitching, and these are heavy stitches. So this is not just single stitches, but you're going to get a lot more sewing out of a bobbin, and it is phenomenal. We also mentioned the Help Center and some of these exclusive stitch techniques like the ribbon stitches and the floating stitches and the radiant stitches, etc. So I thought I'd show you what a couple of those can look like. The floating stitches are by far one of my favorite stitches. This is just a little dress with pleats across the top, and for the pleats I use floating stitches in between to create stitches that look like they're separated from each other. This is another way where I took a shirt. I found two shirts that were similar and I chopped them up, and as you can see I used the floating stitches to put them back together. So these are the floating stitches joined, where I'm joining two pieces of fabric. You can use it for piecing quilts, which is awesome. I do that as well. It's one of my favorite things to do, and why it's my favorite stitch. But you can also do floating. So here is the floating stitches over a folded piece of fabric, and as you can see, you do not see any connective stitching in between. And these are ribbon stitches. So I have single, double, there's all kinds of beautiful ribbon stitches that are available. And here's some more floating, and here's some more ribbon. But absolutely gorgeous, and they're so fun. Then the radiant stitches. This is something that I like to do when I'm playing with new stitches, is I will just use scrap fabrics and play with my decorative stitches or stitches I've not used before. And then I can in turn use those pieces later as applique pieces, which is what I did here. And these are the radiant stitches. And as you can see, they're directional, so they do turn, and it is so cool. Here I used, on this little skirt here, I used the radiant stitches to decorate the little hem here. And then I just ran a satin stitch over the top. But isn't that cute? And here's another example. This is just a little doll dress where I used the ribbon stitches again along the hem. So it's so many opportunities to play, and so I just wanted to make sure that I included those in this video. So this is the Pfaff Performance Icon.